In our group chat, somebody was talking about getting a Grenadier for their wife, and I get it. I think a Grenadier is a great truck, so I have no qualms with that platform, but tell me what a Grenadier can do that a $3,000 D2 can't do. And I'll think about that for a second. See the paint, see the roof, see the interior. That's not my problem. We don't care about paint on this channel. What we do care about is good frames and good running, okay running engine and drivetrain. Howdy, welcome back to the Addicted Motors YouTube channel. My name is Troy, and I just got back from a fully Land Rover-based Land Rover off-road training trip. And while I was there, I did the only thing that a logical, reasonable person would do at such an event, 1,000 miles from my house, is buy another Land Rover. So, I do this. Get on the auction websites or Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and I look around. I look for other people, I look for myself. I feel like I'm mostly looking for myself. Then I see something and I'm like, I don't need to buy it. And then I get stressed out about it because I'm like, I need to buy that. And then I watch it, I don't buy it, or I watch it sell for more than I want, and I get in a bad mood. And then I look for another one, and it's a perpetual cycle, and it's pretty bad. But sometimes you look and you see something and you buy it, and it ends up at your house, and it's right here, and there it is. Then you feel better, and then you feel worse. But then you feel better, but then it's worse, but then it's here, so now you have to deal with it. So, let's look at it. And we're looking at it, and I like it. I'm not totally sure what the purpose of this video is, but I'm gonna just talk you through the thought process behind me buying this 2004 Land Rover Discovery 2 from El Paso, Texas. I know, dumb, I should have just picked it up while I was in El Paso, Texas for the Anarch thing. Well, I didn't, because I didn't trust it, but now it's here, and I think it's okay. And let me talk you through what I saw. So this thing, it came up, it was a kind of a dusty truck traded into a Ford dealer. So in Texas, there are Land Rovers. Good things and bad things about that, right? They're all sunbake. See the paint, see the roof, see the interior. That's not my problem. We don't care about paint on this channel. What we do care about is good frames and good running, okay running engine and drivetrain. Now, as someone who's spent a lot of time in rural Texas, I've lived there, I want to say I studied the market of Land Rovers there as well, but there's not a huge amount of Rovers in Texas, but the ones of this generation that are there, if they're still alive, there's a small percentage of them that stayed alive because they were maintained and used on hunting land and ground. It's very common in Texas for locals and residents to have large expanses of land, and these are cool little off-roady vehicles that are different than Jeep. You know, you can mount the full setup on the roof with the seats and all that, and the gun racks and this and that. So, step one, I knew that it probably had to run. It was traded into a Ford dealer, so it was traded in, right? So it usually doesn't mean that it runs. They most likely drove it there. Step two, southwestern Texas, no rust. It didn't look rusty. It looked dry, it looked sunbaked, it looked beat up, but the few pictures I saw did not show rust. Like that's not northeastern paint, that's rust. The next thing was this bull bar, nice beefy ARB bull bar without a winch, because they don't really need like a winch in the desert. So this is like purely for either looking cool or bumping into deer at 60 miles an hour off-road like it's designed to do in Australia and New Zealand and whatnot. So good sign, hey, added value. If the truck's got a bad engine, I could at least sell the bumper for $500-600 and recoup partial bit of the shipping back. The next thing, tires, KO2s. Has a decent set of KO2s on it. I think they're date stamped 21. I couldn't see that when I initially bought the truck, but you know, it's got tires on it, which is almost as much having to rebuy tires as I paid for the damn truck. The sunbake hood. You don't get this in the Northeast for the most part. So this, hopefully, without running the Carfax, led me to believe that it was a Texas truck, and that's kind of throughout. And it's gold, so it blends in with the desert a little bit. Another positive factor, there was a picture of the engine bay. It looked dusty and original and just how I wanted to see it. Just not a lot of BS, not a lot of personal mechanicking going on here, and there was coolant in it. A little bit worried about the coolant since it's so nice and clean looking, but we're not gonna worry about that all that much. So, so far, you know, that's the thought process. The other thing is I watched it drive across the auction block. It sat and idled in an auction situation, driving through a warehouse for probably hours. It was a later run in the setting. It wasn't smoking. It drove through, and in my assumption at that point, because it drove through in Texas and El Paso with the windows up, and a thing that it wasn't overheating horribly and that the AC would work, because you can't live or survive in Texas without working AC. So those three factors gave me a vote of confidence to at least cast a we'll see what happens bid, and at least if it showed up, it would be a rust-free disco with an ARB that I could part out. So how did I do? Well, here it is. Yep, that is a rust-free underside. It's got these silly side steps, but that's nothing that I'm too worried about. It was never lifted or anything, so it drives nice and tight. All the bushings and everything look good. It's leaking something from somewhere, but it's not dripping anything too bad. And again, it's got the ARB, which again is not the best application of a bumper, but it's worth something to someone, and I can always sell it or do something with it. Now, coming into the inside, again, dusty, dirty, but not rusty. I drove this home last night, so full disclosure, I've familiarized myself with the truck slightly, and everything seems to be okay besides the crack in the windshield and whatnot. Let's hear it fire up. No knocking, no cylinder liners, no dash lights. Pretty impressive. And there's the AC kicking on. Been riding around to confirm all that with the ultra gauge, and we're holding decent temps. 2 cup holders, because Texas road snacks, and a trailer brake controller. That's not the best sign, but I'm not too worried about, because the transmission shifts. I mean, probably a little bit of signs of water intrusion. It's not an SE7, and listen to it. That's a happy, healthy 4.6. Oh yeah, it's a 4.6 and it's not a 7-seater. So that's what I want in a truck. So far, not too bad. Now, is this a truck that I would have looked at on Facebook Marketplace or something like that and just like went out and bought? No, I just don't have the time to play Mr. Rover Rescue and ride around across the state and pulling trucks out of, I mean, I still try to do it every once in a while, but this is the type of kind of calculated risk that makes this type of thing appropriate. Because even if, you know, you were to buy it as a consumer or as an enthusiast, you know, putting that type of thinking into the trucks that I try to procure and buy, and again, I'm not an expert, but that's about as good as I think you can get from an estimation guessing game as far as cost sunk versus cost lost for recouping and everything. So yes, it's a little bit of madness, but there is a slight thought process behind it. So here's the walk around. Again, 176,000 miles, so this thing has been around. That doesn't mean this thing is gonna be 100% problem free or anything. I've just put a few miles on it. I'm sure it's gonna need some things, but so far it seems to be a decent, usable truck. And again, this is one of those kind of trucks that it's been in this form probably its entire life, its little truck life, its use case life. So I wouldn't like lift it or do anything with it. It's a good truck to just kind of run around stock. It's comfortable in this form, and I think I would try to leave it as is. It looks a little awkward with the big hangy ARB and the side steps and everything, but this is how it survived until this point, and I feel like messing with it at this point might not be the end of the world. And again, it's an 04, so I've got traction control. I've got a locking center diff. I've got, you know, a slightly updated interior and cup holders and all the windows that work and everything. So this will be, you know, it could be potentially a great truck for Cindy or someone to drive around and bring to the off-road events and do a little bit of something and drive home with the kids and whatnot. So again, I'm a D1 guy, but I do appreciate a nice usable D2, and that is hopefully what this may fit in my stable. We'll see. She said she wanted it. All right, so it's been a couple days and a few things have changed since I've been able to film this driving portion of the video I didn't have my mount, and you know, it just comes out terribly when I don't film things. But in those 2 days since I filmed the first portion, I have in fact purchased this D2 because yeah, I liked it. I think it's a good one. I'm gonna keep. I haven't even like put it on a lift, so we're gonna drive it now. So this driving a D2, well, that's a video I've done a few times. So let's talk about driving this D2 because every vehicle is different. And what really kind of prompted me, I guess, before the driving portion of this discussion was in our group chat, somebody was talking about getting a Grenadier for their wife, and I get it. I think a Grenadier is a great truck, so I have no qualms with that platform. But tell me what a Grenadier can do that a $3,000 D2 can't do. And I'll think about that for a second. One costs, well, it was like 85 to 90, and now after potential tariffs, I'm going to assume that the cost of a new Grenadier is probably going to be up over 100 plus in the 2025 Q2 pricing. I think this was $3,500, and $1,000 of that was shipping and whatnot. And I know most people don't have access to a dealer auction, but I bought this completely sight unseen with taking full responsibility and risk. It could have had a completely bad engine, and still might. I don't know, but it seems okay for now. So all those factors aside, let's do a quick comparison, right? Full-time 4x4, center diff lock, traction management, heated power seats, 5 seats. This one has an option for 7. This one doesn't have 7, but a D2 you can get 7 seats. Moon roofs, sunroofs, heated windshield, power locks. I've got a key and a clicker that works. I've got 4 operational windows. I've got a cool side opening rear door. Again, we all know it's designed after a Defender or whatnot, but I have a radio that works. I have an AC that works. I've got no lights on the dash, and it's when you look and you put the two of them next to each other, and you wonder why people buy these trucks, is because they offer so much value for the money. And that value might be short-lived. I understand that with different mechanical abilities or different mechanical ailments. But man, let's break this down even further. Let's talk about some tariff-related things. Price of importing globally manufactured parts is going to go up, right? Does that affect me? So really, I mean, is there Grenadiers or any other modern vehicle in a junkyard? Nope. Are these in the junkyard? Yep. Can you buy a parts car for $500? Yep. Will you have to learn how to do some things yourself? Yep. Can this take you a plethora of fun, interesting places at highway speeds with people in it? Yep. Well, you might not make it back? Sure. Is there dealer networks all over the place and independent shops and hundreds of online forums that can help and offer you a community to do these things? Yep. Not to say the Grenadier has it. Shout out to Mike. They're building it. It's a fledgling network, but the heritage is still in progress. But there's a lot that can go on and that this type of vehicle can do for you. But I'm getting a little bit farther down the rabbit hole, and I'm just kind of discussing the ethos behind, I guess, we are rattling all over the place. So actually, we're buying this for Cindy. This is going to be, of course, right? She said it's cute, right? No, this will be her trail truck thing. I'm not going to lift it. I'm going to keep the all-terrains on it. I'm saying that now. I'm going to check back this video, and I'm going to rehash that agreement. But I just like driving around a stock D1 or D2, and I say that in all my videos where I drive one, and I just don't ever keep them stock. So this one has just enough modifications and functionality for me to just drive it like a normal car and use it as like a daily. And I think that's where the use case for this is pretty darn strong, because I can still ride around a cool Land Rover, at least cool to me, not really worry about it. I've got all-terrains, all-wheel drive, metal bumpers, and a price tag that's less than a set of brake rotors for a new one. And just kind of enjoy living that lifestyle, and with space for the kids stuff and kid seats and all that, and not really having to worry about too much. So that is where I think this is a little more interesting and a bit exciting. That's the change, and this will be joining the Addicted Motors fleet as a long-term D2. I don't want to say test rig, but just another Land Rover, because I'm an idiot and and the BMW's in the shop. That's the biggest thing. The X5 diesel is doing X5 BMW stuff. So that one's in timeout again. All right, but let's talk about this particular truck again. I know I've danced around a few times. So what makes this interesting? It's a 4.6. It's not the top mod. It's whatever 4.6. So I've got most of the features. I've got the bigger engine, which has its ups and downs. It has more power, and the more power in the Buick, whatever, Land Rover 3.5 to 4.6 generation engine just means that when you're going on an uphill, you're not having to downshift to like second gear to make it up. I think the power rating is like 220 or something. It's so insignificant, and every truck's different, everyone's loadout's different, everyone's armor is different, that all these factors are going to contribute to that time. But this feels absolutely fine. It feels fine. The transmission shift's fine. The steering feels fine. The brakes feel fine. Everything, you can just drive it like a normal car. I don't have to give the speech of, yo, don't hit this, don't do that, blah, 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 don't drive this way. You know, it only one caliper works, don't ignore the... No, it's like, this was someone's like normal car, I feel like, who maintained it, I'm hoping, potentially because they didn't have a dealer service station near them, to the best of their abilities, and just didn't worry about cosmetics. So I like that thought process. And I just kind of like this truck. As soon as I got in it, it felt right, it felt good. And very rarely do I not try to keep or hold on to those cars that I feel were owned by people and not just someone, you know, letting it pass through the garage. So this one, I know I could eat my words. I think I'm going to keep. It's rust free, so if anything mechanical goes wrong, it's a good platform to further invest in, because every Land Rover is an investment. That's what I tell the people. So I think that's what I got for this one, right? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I think this one might be a win. I'm going to keep this one. Sorry if you were interested in buying it. I just can't find a well-running 4.6 with no rust. I'm not a D2 guy. I have to feel like I own one. This is going to prevent me from trying to find a Defender. The internet tells you should own a Defender, but guess what? It just does everything worse besides having a little more clout at whatever Cars and Coffee you're bringing it to, because most people don't wield them. So one day I'll do that, but until then, we're going to stick to the shitty disco route. And yep, that's it. Like and subscribe. Catch you on my other socials. Follow the auction review and Instagram thread. I'll link that below. And have a good rest of your day. See ya.